I really appreciate this opportunity to testify about the impact of higher ed in rural areas, but also the impact on higher ed of this population decline and change. Before I start in with my comments, I do want to start with really positive. I'm like Rod Wilt. It's always glass half full, as the Senator knows. And I want to start with reminding everyone of the tremendous economic benefit that our higher ed sector, public and independent, provide to the state. Just a few figures that from my written testimony. Our state system, the Ph.D. system, report a $4 billion economic impact annually on the Commonwealth. University of Pittsburgh, 5.2. Penn State, including all of the branch campuses, 11.6, and the largest of the numbers in terms of annual economic impact come from the independent sector of higher ed. Altogether, we have an impact on the state of $24 billion a year. This is our enterprises, and I think that when we're located in rural areas, that impact is even more profound because we are typically a larger employer in a less populated area. In addition, of course, to that economic impact from operating enterprises of higher ed, we serve undergraduate and graduate institutions, providing routes for upward mobility. We know that those students that are able to earn a bachelor's degree can have the prospect of earning $800,000 to $1 million more in their lifetime. The question often I'm asked is, does everyone need to go to college? No, there are wonderful career opportunities down other pathways, but we do know that the jobs of the future, many of them do require advanced training, and so this social impact of higher ed is really profound. In addition to degrees, many of our institutions provide job readiness training and professional development for professionals and those looking to retool, maybe move back into labor force participation. And then beyond education, we look at our fantastic research institutions in the state, and we see wonderful discoveries that impact our state, our nation, and in fact the world. We look at schools large and small, and they serve business development through incubators. Here at Thiel, we have the Haller Entrepreneur Center, opening up opportunities for our students to engage with our business community. And then, of course, very important, I think, in rural areas are the cultural and arts programs that college campuses provide, often the only cultural and arts program in a rural area you'll find at the local university or college. So I wanted to start with all that higher ed does, public and independent, but I also want to turn now to say, yes, there has been a tremendous impact on the higher ed sector by not only the decline in population, but the change in population in rural Pennsylvania. The most noticeable and easy to track, of course, is the drop in enrollment. Yes, there are some institutions in Pennsylvania that are growing enrollment. Penn State main campus over the last 12 years has increased its enrollment by, I think, 8%, if I've got my numbers right. And there are other colleges growing. But if you take the state Pennsylvania system and Pitt together, along with all of their colleges, they have experienced a 30% decline in student enrollment in the last 12 years, very similar to the Ph.D. system, also reporting a third of their seats are now no longer full with students. The independent sector of higher ed in Pennsylvania has not seen such a radical decline, about 9% change in enrollment. And again, it's uneven, with some schools better known, thriving, or schools very well designed and managed and effective, like Thiel College, seeing enrollment growth, and other schools, based on their location or mix of programs, struggling to enroll students. As colleges experience drops in enrollment, it's hard for them to maintain the financial viability to be that engine of economic development in our regions. And so when I look out, I see, particularly in the public sector, the solution often is somehow restructuring, merging. And so our experiment here is with Penn West. We've just heard the governor talk about merging community colleges with the Penn State. Those ideas probably do need to be looked at because of the high cost of the total cost of public education in Pennsylvania. But structure alone, as I think you say, isn't the solution. You have to look at affordability and the outcomes, the links to economic opportunity that universities and colleges must make for us to think about how this sector, my sector, can continue to be a vital source of economic development. So on affordability, we do know that public education in Pennsylvania is much more expensive than in other states. Some say the calculation is as high as 70% more expensive. And so there are a variety of solutions to that we hear regularly. Typically have to do with spending more taxpayer dollars into institutions directly with, from my perspective, very little accountability for cost containment or effectiveness for outcomes. Nevertheless, we do want to be a state that invests in the future, but we have to be very careful about some proposals that are narrowly focused on the public sector and want to bring money directly to institutions as opposed to investments into students directly. The independent sector has approached this differently, and we do have a different business model with our high published prices, but we also give tremendous scholarships and adjustments in prices to make it possible for students from more modest means to find their way into college. Thiel College serves 36% first-generation students, nearly 50% Pell eligible. So it is possible to bring in people from more modest backgrounds and make higher ed approachable. We do that in the independent sector, not through large infusions of public money. We do very much appreciate the FIA grant and the Pell grant. We do this from our own scholarship funds and strictly adjusting prices and our cost platform to make it possible for people in our rural regions to experience the upper mobility that comes from going to college. It's not surprising, given the commitment in independent higher education, that half of the students in Pennsylvania go to a private college, half of the students of color, half of the working professionals, nearly half of the Pell-eligible students, and nearly half of the FIA students choose a private college because it fits what they're looking for, but also because of the commitment of the sector I'm in to making it possible. So as we look to think about how do we make college in the Commonwealth affordable, we should not just plan only in the public sector. We should look across our very complex higher ed sector to look for the ideas that can make college more attainable for a larger number of students. But let me shift as I round out my comments here. Positive outcomes. Higher ed, public and private, we must align our programs to meet the workforce needs of today and the future. We should do this in conversation with local employers, with our economic development corporations, so that students can see, whether they're young students or changing careers, direct connection between making this investment and opportunities in our region. We've done that at Thiel, for example, with our new environmental safety management degree. Grew out of our environmental science program, but we looked and talked to local employers, and they said, we need a little bit of a different type of degree that combines environmental science with management and safety. We built it, and those students are being pipelined right into manufacturing centers, oil and gas, and government regulation, from Thiel into the workforce. We've done that as well with internships, and we really do appreciate the kind of funding that we have found to allow state funding for these internships in these workplaces. And we've also done it, for example, in our new nursing program. We've done that in collaboration with Sharon Regional. We didn't build and add more costs at Thiel by building a separate four-year nursing program. Students come and earn a nursing degree from us, an RN from Sharon Regional, and then we capstone it. That's called regional partnership. It keeps the expense down and the positive outcomes up. And I can see those kind of examples at other colleges and universities across the state. We need to do more of that. I am discouraged sometimes when I hear in the news, you don't need college, and we see that, particularly with young men. They don't want to make the investment. They don't see the value. And I would like to say that there is so much value collaboratively when we take higher ed and understand it as an engine of economic opportunity, a social good, and we link it directly to workforce needs. Young people will come, find a way to support them, and then they can flourish. We are very connected with the homegrown, opening up opportunities in Mercer County for students to be positive about the place we call home and can see a future here for them. So thank you for this opportunity to testify, and I welcome your comments and suggestions.